two-way frequency tables. How can information be interpreted from a two-way table? We know the frequency is the number of times an event occurs. A two-way table shows the frequency of data that is categorized two ways. The rows will indicate one categorization and the columns indicate another. When we're building a table, we are going to build a 4x4 table. That will help us to show the data. A relative frequency is the ratio or fraction of the number of times an event occurs to the total number of events. So here's our ratio, our fraction, number of times an event occurs divided by the total number of events. We're going to multiply it times 100 to get our percent. You can note that you can use relative frequencies to decide if there is an association between two variables or events. The higher the percentage, the more likely there is an association. So let's take a look here at a problem. 100 teens were polled about whether they are required to do chores and whether they have a curfew. Question being, is there an association between having a curfew and having to do chores? Well, first of all, let's look at a percentage of relative frequency of those that have to do chores in general. So chores that they said yes to chores, we had 20 out of 100 total students. Put it into our formula to solve. We know 100 goes over 1. This will cancel, giving us a giant 1 there, and 20 times 1 is 20. So we know that there's a 20% likelihood that students have chores to do. Now let's take a look about what about having curfew and having chores. Well, having curfew and having chores, we have about 16 people out of 100. So this would be our percent of chores and a curfew. We put that over 100, multiply that times 100 again to get a percentage. 100 divided by 100 is 1. And then 16 times 1 is 16, so we have 16%. So as we can see, the percentage is getting less. So is there a frequency that if you have chores, that you have curfew? We can say not really. But I think probably some people will notice there is an interesting trend going on up here. Let's take a look at those people who have no chores and no curfew amongst young people, or teens as it was looked at. So no chores and no curfew right here was 64 out of 100. Again, to find our percentage, we'd multiply times 100. And here we got 64%. That's a higher percentage. Remember, the higher the percentage, the more likely it is to occur. So more than likely, as I talk to students, teenagers, as I start polling them, I'm going to find it's more likely that they have no chores and they have no curfew. Well, let's take a look. I did some data from my class today. I took a look and I asked students if they were involved in a sport, whether on campus or outside in a club, and also were they involved in the music program here at school. So as I polled my students, I had 25 students in that class. So we're going to build our data table, our frequency table. Again, we won't use this upper corner here because when we build a table, there has to be one empty. We had 25 total students, so we're going to put that 25 here in the corner. Then what we need to do is try to find our totals here. So let's start with the total of people who said yes to music, and we're going to put that total there. So we'll go down here and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 total people who said yes to music. That means that there were 19 people who said no, giving us a total of 25. Let's do the same thing for sports. Let's count how many people said yes to sports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 said yes to sports. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 said yes to sports. And that meant 13 said no to sports. Okay, we're going to find one more piece of data here. Let's see anybody who said yes to sports and yes to music. I have one person here at number 12. I have another one here at number 19. And that looks like it. So I had 2 people say yes to music and yes to sports. So if I add up 2 plus what gives me 6, I know it's 4. I know 2 plus 10 will give me 12. Since there were 12 total students who said yes to sports, that must be 10 who are not in music. And also for here with sports with no, I can either add up going vertically or go horizontally, because 10 plus 9 is 19 and 4 plus 9 is 13. So now that we have our table filled out, we can start to get some relative frequency. So we're going to look at what is the frequency of students who play a sport and are in the music program. So we had 2 out of 25 students who did that. So let's figure out our percentage. 25 goes into 104 times. We find that that's going to give us 8% of people who said yes to both. What about those who don't play a sport but are in music? So no to sport and yes to music. So we'll take a look at that number of people here, and that's, I'm going to do it in blue. And that's, we had 4 out of 25 people who said yes to that. And if we do some reducing, 4 times 4 is 16. So we had 16 people who said music, yes, but sports, no. We don't really have a high percentage going on here. So as it looks as if we don't really have a strong leaning one way. We can't really say there's a connection between sports and music. And as we can see, even in the data here, nothing is overwhelming other than we have a lot of people not in music. Maybe that's something we want to look at. Is there some kind of percentage of students who don't do the music program at all out of the total? So 19 out of 25. This looks like it could be a trend that we could see going on. 25 goes in 104 times. That's going to give us 76. And there's a high percentage right there of no music program at all. So we have a lot of students who aren't in the music program, who don't take advantage of the music program. So more than likely, as you meet a new student, I'm going to realize that they are not involved in the music program at all. So that's a strong correlation or a strong percentage. So I can justify saying that because of the relative frequency that I found. Hopefully that will help you with determining how to find frequencies.